I'm gonna call the Monday, October 2nd, 2023 Park and Rec meeting to order. We have no public forum. Here, so correspondence. We have a letter that came to Rick from John, which you responded to, so I don't think we have to go through too much. He just had some concerns about some of the fields, and Rick answered his concerns. The other came from Wayne Gunn about a maple tree at Chaffinch Island, but that's going to show up later on our agenda. Put that aside. All right, approval of the minutes of our September 11th, 2023 meeting. Somebody make a motion to approve the minutes, please.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second. Any additions, corrections? Okay, all in favor? Aye. I'll abstain. Lucky you. You were.
Yours.
Okay, the expenses. So can we get a motion to approve the September 2023 expenses? Get a motion and then we'll ask. for questions.
Take a motion to approve the.
Second, someone second, of course, please. Thank you. Okay, any questions? Any comments? Are we all good? Right, all good expenses. Okay. All in favor of approving the expenses? Aye. Okay, department reports.
It's a dead amount, so.
Any questions or comments on Rick's report, other than you have now have a senior office assistant and a programs events coordinator. We still are looking, right? Those haven't been filled yet.
We have 7 applicants, we've got 4 we're interviewing on Thursday.
For which one? For the office assistant,
For the program events coordinator.
events coordinator?
Yeah, the office position, which is just the deadline was Thursday. So we have to set up those interviews.
Okay. Anything else, Rick, that we need to be aware of?
Unless there are any questions on any of it, so much for some of the reports on the agenda anyway.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Okay, Terry Buckley's report. I'm taking them in order, yeah. Any questions about Terry's? I have been asked to remind you all that the annual senior craft fair will be held on Saturday, September 28th from 9 to 2. And we are in need of gently used jewelry, books, and pockets.
Oh, great.
And please come and shop for the handmade crafts, the knitted goods, the jewelry, the baked goods, books. There's the marketplace. And if you want to.
The showcase will be in town hall. We're setting up the showcase in town hall to remind everyone.
Said jewelry.
And that will come back together. That will come back here for the
Look at the showcase here too on your way out.
books, pocketbooks, jewelry. Okay. Those are generally
Drop
the
them off.
donations.
Town hall.
Oh, no, drop them off here.
Up here. Okay.
Yeah, everything comes here.
You look at the showcases downstairs on the way out too, you see the
Yes.
film and stuff.
Yeah.
You see it's really, really talented.
And please come and shop.
Yes.
Terry's report. Taryn, wrote the programs report, and it was a report on our basically on our summer programs. And as you can see, the numbers for our camp were way up for every week. The 7 out of the 8 sessions for Camp Get Out, Way Out were filled. The learning pathways ran Monday through Thursday, and that was a success. They did a lot of things with kids at the high school, and the preschool ran for 8 1-week sessions. My daughter did 1 week of Get Out, Way Out. She loved it. It's great. Kids do it. We had to pick the week clay compounds. That was the fair enough.
Prerequisite.
That was what was,
It's a travel campus.
it's chopping, yeah.
Yeah.
So so basically it went well. So any questions about? Which brings us to maintenance. Any questions on Todd's report?
I'll just mention the bathroom counters and sinks. We have money in the budget, this current budget to replace them. So we're looking at all four. Phase room, upstairs, downstairs, bedroom.
One question on that. Why would it be replaced?
Well, they're original for one thing, and they look old.
Yeah.
They look old. The
Never
sprocket
replaced
pulling away. The splash pad's kind of pulling away from the counter.
Comparing
They're 30 years old.
The sink countertops and the.
Yeah.
I just didn't think those looked, I guess I was kind of taken back by that because I didn't know we were, I knew we were probably talking about it, but I didn't know we were actually going through with that. So, okay.
No, they haven't been replaced
I just
since
didn't
we
hear.
built the
They're-
building.
they're original.
Okay, didn't realize that. Okay.
And we have money approved in the budget. to do it.
And we're replacing a lot of ceiling tiles.
Over the next 4 years, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's what, for
They're
what,
all original as
Those-
well.
okay.
Like in here, for example, it doesn't look bad really, but you see where the water damage was before we did. it.
Yes, yes, okay. Oh,
The
yes.
problem with these tiles is, and in that, you'll see when we talk about the capital budget, but there's a cost for design. These are on rails. So if
Yes.
Todd takes out that bottom tile,
Yes.
they all could slide down.
Exactly. Yep.
And it's a real challenge trying to replace them. Because there's nothing to hold them.
Yeah.
So we'll probably do something like we have in the Guilford room where they're horizontal, I guess if you want to call those vertical, it's a grid. And so the tiles can't move.
Right.
But it's a challenge when it's a slide. Replace them when they all start coming down. So,
It's not a one-man job, right?
No.
Uh-huh.
No. Any other questions on Todd's? Okay,
No, but I do want to say that, I guess this is related to that, is that I appreciated that Todd and Rick worked on the sound in this room for other meetings that are being used
Yes.
with Zoom. Because it worked out well for the last time I was here.
yeah, it was actually, IT came over, Todd. Cox,
IT, okay.
They came and they adjusted it, yeah.
But I was bothering Rick and Todd about it, so. So I
it was
appreciated
hard,
that,
it was hard to hear.
It
Yeah.
was, yeah.
but it was fixed for last time. So that was great.
Okay, Anthony Anaselli's report, park supervisor, any questions or comments on that?
I have two comments. One,
Okay.
the benches, you see about 5 bullets down.
Yes,
We got the benches, the guys already put them in at Chittenden.
good.
There are 5 benches there now. The other 2 are gonna go to Adams. And the last one, the splash pad, we originally were gonna close down October 1st, but I said to Tony, this week looked like it is a warm week.
Yeah, it is.
Let's keep it open one more week. That's gonna get really cool over the weekend and next week, so, we're closed Mondays, it's a town holiday, so Tuesday, Tony will be shutting it down. So, but it'll be open
Next
this
Tuesday.
week. Yeah, next Tuesday, yeah. Because, talking about mid to upper 70s this week, so, the splash pad will still be available this week for kids to play in.
I have a question though. Did we ever put posts at the bocce court? I've missed the first few weeks of bocce.
No, we still have to do that. It's either the whole.
Something, yeah.
Yeah,
If, I don't know who posted, but it seems like a nice thing to do to post that the splash pad is open this week, because it's weather, because it's a positive
Yeah.
thing that the parents may not realize that Jacobs is, not, open for swimming, obviously, and I know people go to the playground, but social media can be a place where people think, why do they do this? Why don't they do that? And it's positive to say, you and your little kids can go to the splash pad this week.
So Ellen posted. Okay, any other questions on the park? All right. So let's do the commission and staff reports. Standing Fields. Hi, John.
See there, time is everything, isn't it?
Anything for Standing Fields?
I was not able to attend this past Monday meeting, it was in different town. What did you have, Rick?
mainly we talked about the Long Hill Park drainage project that's completed, came out good. In fact, John Kennedy was there Saturday after the heavy rain we had Friday. And he said there was no standing water. It definitely seemed like it definitely made an improvement there. And I've talked with the youth football president. He said, yeah, they're just seeing a difference there too. And the other thing is, 2 Saturdays in a row, we postponed field walks because of the rain. It's scheduled again for this Saturday, but it looks like we're in a 7-day pattern. Looks like rain is,
No.
it's postponed twice, so hopefully this Saturday we'll get it in.
Anything from the Green Committee
No,
and land acquisition?
I did go to my first meeting of
Good.
land acquisition. I guess, I'm learning how it all works. It's a little different than anything
It's
I've.
all executive session.
But also I realize how it's pretty much on a need to know basis, you really don't talk about what's going on in the land acquisition meeting.
It's all,
I have a question regarding.
it's all executive session.
The land acquisition committee. About, I don't know how many years ago, we were looking to purchase land on Route 80 for a combined public works and
It's been purchased.
it has been purchased.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, but I've seen nothing since then.
Well, they haven't gotten around to building anything. It's supposed to be public works and we're supposed to be part of that, Parks and Recs facilities.
I mean, I haven't seen any ribbons in the grass or in the trees or,
That's right. I know I want the house there as well.
okay.
So we have, the town has a good parcel of land there, but there hasn't been any talk yet about building the new facility.
So if I have my bearings correctly, is it on the north side of Route 80 or
No.
the south side of Route?
South side,
South side of Route 80, where the gas station is.
behind, into the, and
Where the
and north
Farmer
of the gas
Jones property used to be.
between them, yes, yeah. Between the gas station and I think the farm is still the farm. So it's between the
Yes.
gas station and the farm.
Oh, okay, okay. All right, thank you. That's just inquiring minds like to know.
All right, unfinished business. Jacob Septic, how are we doing?
So we finished.
Is it? It's unfinished.
We did know, the engineer and I met with the engineer for the project, and I met with, Smedley Crane to get a cost from them. The only way to get one of the ways to get the septic tank in there with the cover weighs 30,000 pounds. Tank alone is 19,000 pounds, so, an option is we have to get a crane that sets up in the parking lot, it's gonna lift it up and lower it. It's $10,650 for the crane. That's not including septic, everything else. But our engineer for the project is also looking into mats that can be rented. There are companies have these big heavy duty mats that you can drive on with giant loaders and trucks and won't damage the grass or the irrigation system. The problem there is we gotta get across that grass or irrigation lines in there. And then once you get on the beach, you can't, even a heavy duty loader carrying that kind of weight is gonna sink into the sand. It's not gonna be able to get over there. So we're gonna have to put some kind of mats down or do this crane. I mean, those are the only options we have. So he's looking into he's been trying to get a hold of this company in Massachusetts. It has the mats and he hasn't heard back.
What's the cost of the mats?
That's what we don't know
You
yet.
don't know.
Yeah, he's trying to get a hold of them to find out.
One would have thought they would have realized this when they first went, look, this would have been included in the price.
Right.
You knew how much it was gonna weigh, you knew you were gonna have to get a crane. They've done a beach.
Well, there was an option that we were looking at to try to go with the neighbor's yard is at Pilgrim Point. But they put a beautiful vinyl fence up, you can't get it, you can't even get
Can't
across.
get it now.
We had early discussions with them early on in the process. They were minimal to us possibly coming across their property, but now it's all finished and grass and everything else.
The point that Rose, right, that's a concern of mine too. So when you go and evaluate a job and you give a price of the job, they know where the location was. So, yeah, I'm a little miffed about that myself.
Are we going to get this done before next year? I mean, this has been 2 years now.
Yes, and I, it's been on agenda a long time.
Well, you're worried about the agenda. I worry about the fact that are we gonna have another summer where we have to pump this out
I
every
know,
3
that's-
days?
I can comment later on it.
Oh, what is the downside for not having it done? We just have to continue
Yeah,
Yep.
more frequently than we had.
right. You gotta do it every 5 days. So
You look at the
Okay.
expense report, that's becoming like that's a lot of money,
It'll,
having that done
it's
all
gonna
the
get
time.
done this fall, it has to. Very close, the specs are ready to go out, it's just the final push of how they
So
gonna
tell
get
me
there.
to do for ground freezes.
He's got, his specs are done, he's told me they're ready to go, we just gotta figure that last part out.
All right, here's hoping. Shade of the splash pad, we heard anything?
No report from Will, I haven't heard back from him.
Okay. I assume that's probably gonna wait till next spring.
Yeah.
Okay, program account. Ellen's got this pretty well set, I understand.
Yeah, I think, we talked about waiting till the next month, so it'll be a quarter.
Right.
I mean, we get a report from the summer, but it's not, we wanna do quarterly, it's 3 months, so we gotta wait till September numbers are all in. Not, I mean, we just started October, so we don't have all that in yet. So, in November, we should be able to give a quarterly report.
Okay, pickleball expansion.
Mike, you gonna report on that?
It's going great.
You've been up there. They started to work this week, took the fence down last week. They're there, I was up there Friday again today. They're doing the grading they have to do to the stone, that's where we're expanding the concrete. They're gonna make good progress. Should be pouring the concrete either the end of this week or early next week.
Great.
And as I mentioned, the pickleball players there today, the day that happens, we have to shut it down. Nobody can be up there. I thought about maybe coming around the trail coming up, but there's gonna be concrete trucks going up and down here and out.
One day,
He's gonna put people out. So for a day, they'll have
For a
to
day,
stay
I
out.
think they'll understand.
What are they doing now?
No, they might not. Get over. it.
When they pour the new concrete, are they gonna allow for installation of lights along the perimeter or?
Well, no, that would be outside. I think more like on the edge of the asphalt if we did it anyway. It wouldn't have to go inside the
You
corridor.
wouldn't have to go
Yeah.
inside the corridor.
Right. Yeah, so we have talked about maybe bringing conduit in there for that, but not part of this project. I was gonna say something else about it. Oh, so they're not gonna be able to color code the courts. This fall is gonna get too cold by the time it cures, but they will put lines down so people can play. And then it'll come back in the spring and it'll put the colors.
You can
And
play with
Public
them.
Works is gonna move the skate park equipment.
That solves the whole problem. doesn't it? All good. Okay, have we heard anything about the shed and the scoreboard at Long Hill Park?
Yep, approved by planning and zoning, and I believe the shed, I think is getting delivered October 18th.
That's moving, good. Okay, policy on resident, non-resident registration.
So we tabled it last month because I hadn't had a chance to sit down with Ellen and Terry, which I did last week, to get their input on it. This was brought up because I guess there was a resident last year, maybe in the spring, who was not able to get into the pickleball program, and we had taken residents.
Taking non-residents.
Yeah, I'm sorry, yeah, it took non-resident, a resident didn't get in. They did eventually, we got everybody in. Our policy used to be that residents would register for a week or two before non-residents could register. Staff sort of stopped doing that, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, because it wasn't an issue anymore. We never had a problem with people not getting into a program. We either add more classes or expand time or something. So in talking with Terry and Ellen about, they both felt pretty strongly that it's working okay, the way we're doing it. Like, for example, pickleball, if our max is 30, maybe we take 35, because somebody always doesn't show
Doesn't
up.
show up.
We
that's
do in
right.
fitness class too, our max is 25, we might take 28 or 30, because somebody just isn't there. Almost guaranteed every week, somebody doesn't know. Or if we have a big enough waiting list, we just add more time. We have plenty of hours, we can still, in the fall anyway, schedule classes for pickleball. Summer, we prefer not to in the afternoon, it's just so hot. Although I've seen some of you diehards out there, 90 degrees playing, but we probably wouldn't run a class in the heat of a day like that. But in the fall, we got, up to 5 o'clock, we can run classes if we want to. So I think that, especially in areas where we have plenty of room to expand if we have to, we would just keep adding. kind of like with boat racks. When I first came, we had 50 boat racks. We have 250 now. The need kept changing and increasing. We just kept adding more and more and more. I think we're getting racked out at Jacobs Beach now. I don't think there's any more.
I don't think so.
So
Yeah.
is the policy 2 weeks, or is it different for every sport?
It was a week. It was a week. I think maybe camp might have been 2 weeks, but so we haven't been doing that for, they're telling me probably 4 or 5 years now. We've just been taking everybody. The other problem, as Ellen mentioned, is that with fitness classes, if we go to that format, they're non-residents, some have been taking classes for 10 years.
Right.
Do we now say to them, well, I'm sorry, you can't
Sorry,
go?
we can't fit you in now.
And Terry says that a lot of our trips wouldn't go if we didn't have non-residents in
True.
there. So they both thought it was working okay, they just let everybody register as they do it. The non-residents always pay more, every program we have,
Yes.
they pay more. So there's more revenue from that, but they're the ones that are more closely involved in programs than I am, so I wanted their input on it. And they both felt pretty strongly it's working okay, not to separate it out. So, I don't know.
So you mean in the future, we won't separate? Just
We're not now,
everybody
we
signs
haven't
up?
doing it.
No,
No.
we're not gonna change
Okay.
it. I mean, who knows,
It's up to you.
if a couple of
Change,
years down the
right,
road,
the
if things
change, right.
happen, we may have to relook at it, but right now it seems to be working.
Like, I really thought that in pickleball, the residents first,
We did do that with pickleball, because it's just 300 people playing.
yeah, okay, so
Now we did, so, yeah, maybe we might do it. I'd like to be consistent, but sometimes it makes sense to do something a little differently. And with that many people playing, we want to make sure the residents got it.
sure, okay.
So that is one program we did do it that way this fall.
Yeah, especially if you can't add people. I mean, we added another day of bocce because there were so many people. That worked, yeah, but.
Yeah,
Never
bocce,
turned
same thing,
anybody
right?
away.
Non-residents, seniors that play bocce.
Yeah, the plan, yeah.
There's camaraderie, you think of as friendships, and you say, well, they can't be on my team anymore, because we're not,
Of course.
But it's up to the commission, this is what, the staff felt, but if you have different opinions on it, then that's fine, but I think we should make it an official policy, at least for now. If we want to revise it later, we can.
But would the official policy make an exception for pickleball? Like, how do we do it? Cause it does seem like if it's something like that, that maybe it does work better to keep it. If there's something that's such a hot program.
Yeah.
Then it
But we've
might
had
make sense to do that.
fitness classes too, where there's 1 or 2 instructors whose classes always fill up. And you have to get on the waiting list in order to get into their classes similarly. And then I always say, well, why is it not resident here suddenly?
I mean, I see what you mean about people who have been doing it forever and you don't wanna.
Yes, no, and
Excellent.
that's true. I've seen that in
Although-
my fitness classes too.
If generally there's the ability to add another section or something, then it's really not turning people away. It's just having a delay in registration. I don't know how you do it, but it seems like there's some nuances to some of the
And we
programs.
can't do that with every program.
Yeah.
I mean, we have so many fitness classes that are
Yeah.
back to back, in many cases, you can't really just add
Add
another
another
one
one.
sometimes. So, or maybe the policy be, let's have determined the
I would
the
just say,
programs
yeah.
where we know.
Let's do it,
Well,
This
that's
is
discretion of
really
the
should
staff.
address
staff.
it.
I think they should have
They're the
some,
ones that are, yeah,
some ability to use their own discretion.
Yeah.
yeah.
Or if there's something where for some reason, it fills up really quickly, a lot of people who are non-residents, they must, see that coming in, how you adjust that.
Yeah,
Or make it
most of our
shorter.
programs are a majority of Guilford residents.
But you'll be, yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
so there's just certain
There's
classes
just a
that
few
they
classes
should
that
have
they-
their
Yes.
discretion.
You know what the problem is, somebody might be in a class,
They usually work around it.
But I mean, in terms of a policy that Rick was asking for, how do we
like,
do
do we
this?
have to have a formal policy?
Yeah.
there could be some people who are in a class who were residents, moved to another town,
Right.
and in a class for 5 years. And now we say, well, you
Yeah.
can't be in it anymore, because we have to take people who live here first. I'm mixed on it, 'cause I think residents should have a priority, but it doesn't seem like it's been a real problem.
Staffing, if they found that it was becoming a problem, that, like Guilford residents were complaining that they couldn't get in, I'm sure they'd bring it to your attention.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think we just let it, the discretion of, they know what they're doing
Yeah.
and they're hearing what's going on.
Okay.
Right, so.
I think that's probably the way to go for now. If it becomes a problem, Rick will have to bring it up again. Oh, the tree planting.
Nothing new on that.
I don't know if it's falls into that or not, or if I should even be bringing this up, but, what is going on with next door? There's been a lot of hubbub about,
The house next
there's
door?
always hubbub going on with certain things, but on social media about, why is it still sitting there like that? Why is it this? Why is it that? Is there a clarification as to why or when?
No.
Or, okay,
So all the construction equipment,
That's the
there
short
was,
Yeah.
there was an oil tank, 2 underground oil
Press.
tanks that were taken out. One of them was actually under the house. The company had to go in and cut a big hole in the floor to get to it. They started, trying to cut it up. It was a 500-gallon tank, trying to cut it up and it was taking forever. So they dug under the foundation and they pulled it out. But there was still a little bit of oil in it. Someone got in the ground, so now they had to
Yeah,
get
they had
that
to,
tested,
yeah,
because now the ground's contaminated. Now with all this rain we had, it's a pool underneath there.
Yeah.
It's constantly filled with water. They can't get it to, there actually was a truck there today trying to pump out the water.
I
So
kind of figured.
once that's done, I guess they gotta go back in and fill the hole in and redo the floor and then, but as you know, the house was determined by the Historic District Commission to be kept. I guess once this is all
Mid-century
done,
model.
somebody's gotta figure out what are we doing with it? What kind of work has to get done on it to make it useful? And then get a parking lot going.
But the dead trees did come down.
Yeah,
So that is something, they did clear the dead trees out, and they did some grading there, and then got some big rocks out, so it's.
There's progress. I
Well,
think I'd like the
there's-
public to hear that there's progress, because we get a lot of
They're fixing the property, but it's
blah,
not,
blah, blah.
necessarily-
It's still sitting there looking like
it's
that.
not
so,
necessarily a parking.
Right, yes,
Well,
okay.
was there initial plan?
Well, the hope was when we first brought it to, the town was that we could use it to expand our parking, because I don't know if you've ever been here on Friday
Oh, yeah.
afternoon, but it's brutal.
Lots of times.
Lunchtime.
At lunchtime, and again, I mean, I've said this about a million times, a lot of these people have a lot of trouble walking.
Oh, yeah.
And so we can't expect them to walk far to
That was
get
the
here.
main, that was the main
Yes.
focus by.
Yes. was
To
to
expand
expand
the
our-
parking,
small
to
storage
expand the
You know, when
parking.
the Sills, and I mean, it's not even just Friday lunches, Sills meets here quite
It's
a
every
lot.
day.
So when Sills programs are going on, the parking lot is filled, then you have people to do the crafts or come to do the exercise. And there's just no
I mean,
place
quite
to park.
honestly, this building is what, 25 years old, going on 26? When it was, in my opinion, as a Guilford resident, when it was engineered here. Maybe back then it wasn't quite as busy. It is very busy here, and there is not enough parking. To accommodate, there just isn't.
I mean, that's the reason that we purchased the property, right? Was that,
Was
I
the
think
But we
main- that was
sort
the
of
main
thought that
reason.
was the reason,
yeah, was there another reason?
We thought,
Oh.
well, no, but
but
we even thought maybe
It's
at
our
one
time.
point you could use the facility for something if they needed something. But
Exactly.
it just is kind of
So I guess it's really square one is to,
correct.
it would have to be something that somebody's gotta plan what to do with that building. How much it's gonna cost, it's gonna be so many
Correct.
things that.
well, and then who maintains it?
Correct.
And made.
So there's a lot that we need to.
the assumption was the building was gonna come down
I
and
know.
Will Thompson was retained by, I'm not sure who, but to design something.
And he designed a really nice.
He designed a small storage building that was
Yeah.
gonna resemble a community center, so it would look like this. But it's lots, way smaller for storage, but,
And it was going to, I mean, it wasn't going to be a flat parking lot. I mean,
Right.
it had it designed with trees, and
Right.
shrubs and walkways, and it would have looked pretty.
Yes, very.
Totally understand.
So I'm just making,
Historic
I'm just
Commission did
making
great.
the comment because
'Cause
I
saw
see
this.
stuff on social media that I don't like when it gets to be, well, the park and rec, purchase this, now they're not doing anything. I don't like the negativity.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to make it clear of what is going on and if there is progress moving forward and there are some obstacles. And
But I also,
it's,
yeah, that's what I wanted to see made clear
It's-
to anyone who's
yeah.
watching, that,
Yeah.
that it's not, we're not the decision makers for holding it up. It's not Parks and Recreation, it's not us.
And we
It's
didn't
the
purchase
town,
it.
so it's
Exactly.
benefiting us
So-
if there's that parking,
Yes.
but it's not
Correct.
under our control what's happening.
Correct, thank you.
And I
Maybe
agree
we
with you
could
about the
have,
social media
um,
part of it.
Maybe we could have someone report out on it during one of the. Oh, so let's go out monthly events, whatever it is, not monthly events, one that Matt does. That has all the phone numbers and everything in it.
That events magazine.
Yeah, magazine.
Yep.
Maybe there's a place where maybe Matt could even report out to say. People are questioning this, here's what's happening.
Yeah, there's a letter in the Courier last week, I think.
Yes.
Was, yeah, right, there's always some
Is there any chance of
Mhm.
changing
And that
the
costs.
position on quite a historic group where they just dug in and stand?
Storage, I was at that meeting, they voted 4-1 against taking it down. So they,
What was this, was this recess?
the district commission, they want to keep, preserve the house.
It's been about
When was the
18
meeting?
months, maybe.
When was the meeting that you?
Oh,
went
when
to?
was that?
It's been
when?
months.
It's 18 months ago.
But I mean, it was a while ago, so it's not new.
Yeah, almost a year ago.
It's been like in a holding pattern.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Kathy knows, so it was last October.
Oh, is that all? Yeah, I thought it was even.
With regard to the building, the town planner applied for a grant to study town buildings and their usages and their futures. And then she left. The grant was awarded, then she left. So it kind of went into abeyance because they gotta wait till they hire a new town planner. And then she's gotta get up to speed,
Yeah.
and then the whole thing starts
Starts
over
over
again.
again.
Essentially, it's kind of in limbo at the moment. But there is a grant to study the town buildings in the center of town with regard to their future use. And then, obviously, they look at that building and decide what.
Thanks for letting us know, Kathy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, new business, the request for the Japanese maple at Chatfish Island. So I think, Rick, you said there was a tree there that,
There was.
there was a tree there that died or whatever.
There was one by the bench, there was, the Moses Gun bench is the first bench. that
Very
we
first
had.
one that went in,
It was
yes.
approved at Challenge. There was a tree there, it died, and so when, Moses White would like to, she has some Japanese maples in her yard. And she wants to transplant one there, and I
Seemed like-
assume there's some connection for her that way, you know? And she just wants to put it kind of where there was one. And Japanese maple, you know, they don't grow real big, but it would provide some shade there, and, so she just asked for permission to put a tree there. She's gonna do it herself. It's not gonna, she's gonna plant it, you know, it's not gonna cost anything.
Can water for a year?
Yeah,
She'll go down there. We can sit there all the time.
Check with John Cunningham and agree with her that it will survive.
That's what I was gonna say, was that tree suitable for that?
You know, she says it is, but.
yeah, well, she
she's
said
not
there's
really-
some on Guilford Point that have been there for a while, so they're surviving, so there's no problem, Bill. So, sorry, somebody was just trying to call me and tell me in the meeting.
What would be the downsides to planting and it doesn't?
Yeah, I mean, she's talked to them.
I know,
you
exactly.
But then,
That's what I'm thinking.
you know,
Yeah,
she's
right.
gonna
I
that
know.
one somewhere, so I mean, it really,
You can
I'd say let her try, I
Why
would
not
say
try?
let her try.
Right, and it's just, what if we lost?
Worst case,
Yeah,
I mean,
I
Worst
agree.
case scenario,
What's
it
the worst
doesn't,
case scenario?
plant something else.
Exactly.
You know, exactly.
I agree with that.
All right, so would somebody like to make
I
a motion?
make a motion to, have Gwen Gunn plant a Japanese maple next to her husband's bench. And she will water it for the first year,
Hopefully it will-
and hopefully it will.
Okay, any other discussion on this? All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay, okay, Rick, our 5-year capital budget.
Yep, so, sorry, I couldn't do this soon, yes, we just kind of finished it, today. And, I have to have it into the Board of Finance on, the Finance Director, October 27th. So this will be our only chance to look at it. So some of the stuff is, things you've already approved in our 5-year plan, we moved a few things around a little bit. Maybe I should just look, I don't know if you wanted me to go over every item or just ones that are new. Or would you like me to do that, Rose?
Yes, why don't we just do the new
Changes.
ones?
Okay, so new, the first page is I break it down to 3 sections, parks and fields, equipment, and then community center. So the first one's fields and parks. So the third one down, $50,000 phrase mow. What's a phrase mow? Phrase mower actually is, actually, when you see in our equipment budget, we want to buy a phrase mower. This is a
Yes.
hybrid company. Phrase mowing, it gets the weeds out, but not the grass. It's somehow I've
can tell
seen
the
one where,
difference?
can't really explain how it works, but it gets the roots of the weeds, the roots of the grass, it doesn't pull up. So it gets a lot of weeds out of the field. It's especially helpful on school grounds where we can't use any kind of weed control.
That's right.
So this will, reduce our need to use it in parks too. If we can use the phrase more, get the weeds out of it, we won't have to put herbicides down, or not as much anyway.
So this is for buying one?
Well, you'll see that when we get to the equipment budget, but, and that's a few years down the road, but for next year, the 50,000 is to hire a company to phrase mow it, renovate it, aerate it, fertilize it, seed it. There's one area that needs some grading, if you know, Elite 1, corner toward Elite 3 and on my Wista Drive, it goes up, it's a hump there. And so the 50,000 includes that. It's taking down that hump and grading it. So it seems like a lot of money to mow it, but
Yeah.
it's a lot more than that.
So that whole line item basically is to renovate the soccer field.
Yes, yes.
Okay.
So it's Elite 1, it's called One Vista Drive.
Okay.
The next one, the pump at Lee, we're on lower time with that. We didn't think it was gonna be last spring, and it did. But we don't wanna get a new pump yet. The enclosure that's in is all rotted out. I mean, the controller box, it's full of mice. Mice get in there, they chew on the wires. I mean, it's nasty. You open that thing up, and it's pretty disgusting. The guys have to be careful, one doesn't jump out at them, a mouse when they open the box up. But then the housing for the pump, the metal's all rotted out, it's rusted and rotted out, so we need to replace that. So for 25,000, not bad, it's a new pump, the new enclosure, and then some new electrical, and something called a VFD, variable frequency drive. We've been starting to put those on all the fields we irrigate. It does a better job of, excuse me, of keeping track of the amount of water we're putting out and how much water pressure is going through it. It's a computer basically that does all that. And we have them on most of the fields now, Elite does not have. So.
So then,
that would
how do
include
we
that.
also find a way to keep mice up?
Yeah.
To prevent.
Yeah,
all
well, I
of
think of
these
a
items.
new housing, we can guess what's more, that's tighter, more that might sit in. The irrigation control upgrade, air card, I believe it's something has to go on each of the controllers, but then it's an app on Tony's phone, and he can control irrigation from anywhere in the country.
Oh, wow. That'd be nice.
Anywhere where there's Wi-Fi.
Carried away, yeah.
You know, if somebody said, hey, it's raining out and irrigation's going out, he could shut it off his phone.
Great.
You know, he wouldn't have to physically go there and do it. It's a good technological upgrade.
Well, not to mention, it saves us time and money having
Right.
him come in to work on,
Yeah.
to do just something like that. Yeah.
The last one, in that year, the updated lighting controls, I met with the police chief, they would like to have it change from what it is now. They want to do like we have at Adams basketball court and high school tennis courts, which is a push button operation. Because right now, if somebody wants lights, they have to go into the police department. Somebody has to come out, open up a box with a key and flip a switch. Nobody does it that way anymore. It's old. And I think those were put in 1996, I think. So they're asking us we do that, but we also need to update, and John would appreciate this at Bittner. For the softball lights, you have to flip 8 breakers, I think, 1 for every pole or 2 for every
It's
pole.
at
or
least
something.
12, you know.
There's a bunch of breakers that the referee has to go in, or umpire has to go turn all these breakers on. So we want to update and upgrade that panel, and again, put the lighting controls on Tony's phone, just like the irrigation. He can have an app. He can turn Adams on or off from anywhere, wherever he is. You know, he can set it.
This is not old technology. Madison has this right now.
Yeah.
With the lights on the surf club. So they can program when the lights turn on automatically.
Right.
And then the director, your counterpart over there, can actually just like you said, just look at his cell phone and turn them off. Like directly off office of.
So
Jay Jarvis has it at the high school for the lights there.
is that something that get 3 bids on? We always have to get 3 bids, correct, no matter what we,
Yeah, probably. Yeah, unless they have their Sourcewell or Croc. If they have a state bid, state number, we don't have to get other quotes, but we had to get a quote for a budget, you know, so we just went to a company and find out what would it cost. But with that, the police chief would also is strongly asking us to put the electrical for the basketball courts in our budget. They've been paying for it ever since we had it. It makes sense. It's a recreational facility. It really does make sense. And I did get from him, which when we talk about operating budget in a month or so, I do have the numbers of what they've been paying for electric for those, so I'll look at, we'll have that information.
So
So,
I'm gonna take this a step further, by us doing a capital improvement for the basketball courts at the police station. Pretty much means that this is gonna be a long-term commitment from the town for us, for the courts to
like,
stay.
there's no plan to move them now. Right now, there is,
Okay.
after all the support there was for keeping them there.
So
Yeah.
that's good news.
Yeah,
So basically, we're looking at doing it at the basketball court and at Bittner.
yeah, I have separated prices. I could have separated them out. And if
No, no,
we
that's
need
fine.
to-
I'm just making sure it's both things. I
About
can just-
upgrading electrical.
Going to word it was confusing.
That's emergency services.
Well, that's not. We're not, emergency services for Bittner isn't, it's emergency services at the police.
Yeah.
That's why it was
Okay,
confusing.
that's why, yeah, okay.
The wording was a little
Gotcha, okay.
confusing, that's all. I was wondering.
Emergency service, well, this looks like it's emergency services for Bittner.
Oh,
Right.
yeah, I'll Jim retype it.
Yeah, yeah, have her straighten that out because it's confusing, so.
Should
And,
be at
and-
emergency
and-
service
and for, yes,
and
and for
electric
Bittner.
control upgrades have been there.
Yeah.
Good catch.
And what else is new here?
So with this upgrade with the lighting here, this doesn't include potentially upgrading the lighting at Bittner for the pickleball courts, is that correct?
That is not, yes, no.
Would it,
Um,
since the demand for the courts have increased dramatically, is it possible that we can add this to this number so that we can make a early surge to put lighting up at the pickleball courts and at the skate park?
I don't know if you want us to add it, we could, we'll have to get a lot of different prices. So one of it would be the actual poles, lights and fixtures and controls, and then getting the power back there. I believe we had a quote for them about $20,000 just to get the power for the building or the road to the pickleball. It's like a quarter mile there.
Yeah, it's a long way.
I mean, we can relook at that. It's gonna take a little more work to get that number, but yeah, I did not include it in the 5-year plan if we wanna. Put it in
I was
somewhere.
noticing that's what was going down the next 4 years, that I didn't see any capital improvement for the pickleball courts for lighting, so I'd like to see that go in.
Solar lights.
You still would have to have the infrastructure in place for the poles and
Right, we'd
That would
have
have
the
to bring the
$20,000 for
electricity.
the electricity to be brought up there.
I talked with one of the lighting Musco is the premier lighting company in the country, really, that's what we're working with for these other ones. They said they don't have any lights that are designed to light up athletic facilities. They give enough light that are run by solar power.
well, then the other issue too is there, I mean, I'm into solar power myself, but would there have to be tree trimming along the perimeter of Bittner Park in order to reduce the canopy in order to get more light in there? Because right about this time of the year now, the sun goes down about 6 o'clock
Yeah.
and it turns dark very quickly. And that's just for the sun getting behind the trees on behind the soccer field. And that softball field or baseball field, everyone, it gets dark very quickly.
But I could look into that though, because they were talking about like athletic field, like if we did Long Hill Park, for example.
Yeah, this isn't an
smaller.
athletic field, it's,
We're
right.
talking about just there. The only thing we did talk about though, if we do that, skate parks are gonna get lit up too. And when you get people complaining about the noise.
Noise from the skate park at night.
Going till 9, 10 o'clock at night.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
remember there was somebody
Would be
living across the
complaining
river
about-
came to us and complained.
The noise in the pickleball
What about
too,
pickleball?
yes, you know.
That's far enough away that I don't think that would bother neighbors so much. I mean, neighbors aren't close to Bittner, but the banging of the,
Yeah, it's a different
ramps
noise
and-
altogether.
so it's just something to consider.
Tennis
what
courts,
influence-
lit at Adams. Are the pickleball courts, and tennis courts lit up at Adams.
Right.
I thought it was played
No
at
lights.
Adams.
They don't play late.
metal.
no lights.
Because I'm saying not lit at Adams.
It's-
Lit up at Adams either.
And not-
Yeah, that-
that's more than late, we don't have horses.
I would say you could still have it as
Lights there.
Right.
Okay.
until 8 o'clock.
But it's good to put it on,
I think solar's a great idea.
Just to look into it, just to see what it would,
I can get some prices. Grab something.
I don't think we have to light it up that it's, spotlight, like, just enough lighting just to be able to
If
just,
you're gonna do it, you have to do
you know?
it. Yeah, you don't want people.
We had the
True.
portable lights that we bought, but we kind of committed those to youth football.
Yeah.
Football. That's the time when we would need them most,
Exactly.
that better.
Anything, what else is new?
Okay, so going down.
The equipment, not next.
Oh, wait, we're just making sure there's
Oh.
nothing.
Everything on the
on
25,
fields and-
26 is nothing
okay.
new there.
So
except
there's
the
nothing
school
else new.
playscape.
No.
The playscape Jacobs, that price went way up. I think with 300,000 maybe in,
Yeah.
last year.
How old
But
is
I-
that
I was just gonna say, when was the last time we
Oh,
replaced that?
God.
It's not even in bad shape, I don't think.
Yeah, we've been replacing a lot of parts. We just had to replace the slide on the older one. The older one's landscape structures. That one is at least 28 years old. And the rest of it, I believe it was 2004, so it's
And
probably
then
about
what's what's
22 years
the
old,
warranty generally on something like that?
about 20 years.
20,
We're gonna
okay.
get it.
Past that.
Also, safety aspects
Yeah.
get better and
Good.
better when you get new
Yes.
landscape.
The ones that been are older, but but the salt air just, and they're in salt water. I mean, 2 or 3 times a year, the water comes up onto the playground. And so that, all that stuff's sitting in salt water and it just does a job on it.
I know.
That, it's a number, and they actually included a design with that, but there are a lot of options. We could say, all right, we're gonna approve $300,000, we're just put a lot less down there, but
Yeah.
we gave them the square footage of the area and they know what you can fit in there and how much space you need in between things for fall zones. They came up with it was actually over 500,000, but that included paying somebody to demolish it. I said, between Parks and Public Works, we can take it on and we need to hire a company to do that, so I dropped it down, so.
And that playscape's been there forever too.
Yeah, and they're. It's very popular.
I was there today, yes.
Painted a bright color.
26, 27, irrigating Binder C outfield, that's new. That's the softball field, not the
Little League.
lighted field, but the Little League.
Little League
softball
softball.
field. And then the skate park ramps, that's a real number I got for that year. I said, what would it cost 3 years? And that's I got a definite quote on that. This is the one John's gonna like. So after the field committee meeting Monday, one of the members talked to me about making the lighted softball field a baseball field. And then we talked a little bit about synthetic turf just for the infield, not the whole field. The whole field would cost probably $1.5 million. I have a call into AstroTurf who did the stadium field at the high school. haven't heard back from them yet. But it would really make that field a nice multi-use field. It set it up for the bases at 60 feet for
Yeah.
girls softball, 65 feet, 70 feet for a 50-70 field, or for men's softball, or 90 feet for baseball. We could have all those options. I thought the fence would be way too close, but what did Tony mention?
It's 300.
300 or 280 or something.
It's 300.
And yeah, I mean, some of the people in the baseball community said, that's okay. That's far enough. I think when guys hit softballs or baseballs go farther, but
There's one thing that the baseball people fail to understand. For some synthetic field, summertime is
it's hot.
it's hot. Because you have, okay, now you're gonna have the argument again between black crumble and what other fill you're gonna have in there. But during the summertime, the field gets very, very. Personal experience, your shoes feel it, and your feet feel it. The advantage is that like Rick says, is that you have multi-use of the infield. You don't have to go have somebody come back and reposition bases. You just throw down bases that have I guess the best way to describe it, has like alligator teeth on the bottom, so it adheres to the
Almost like
grass.
a Velcro kind of thing.
Yes, it's not really Velcro, but it doesn't
But it
move.
doesn't move, yeah.
It doesn't move, it doesn't shift at all. And they're very, very versatile. That's what they use over in the Madison Surf Club, for repositioning basis. For the men's league and also for girls softball when they were have a jamboree there. But the only disadvantage to it is that it really does get hot. I think maybe I'm surprised baseball would want to go into this because you know, a 90-foot field for baseball. I don't know. I don't see too many teams around here doing it. I see them more going up to the Sportsplex and playing because they have weekend tournaments up there that they attract teams from all over New England to play for the weekend. Not necessarily just a recreational program for the week. So a comparison between the two would be, I hate to use the technology of apples versus oranges, but it would be something similar. I would just say I used to play softball here in town. We used to have 30 teams. Now we have, oh, well, maybe there were 2. And then the rest of the time they were playing over in Madison, where we had a total of 9 teams. So the future of men's league slow pitch softball is pretty much gone for Guilford. Younger players don't like to play it, especially, and then when they get into their families, they're more into the Parks and Recs, soccer and Little League and lacrosse than they are coming out and leaving the kids at home with mom and saying, I'm gonna go play softball. Those days are pretty much over.
So this is in the 27-28 budget for what reason? Did we just decide we needed to do this no matter what?
Well, no, it's just, you have to
Just
prove
time.
it, so we're just throwing it out because it
It's
was
just an
brought to my
idea.
attention.
Just
But
when
to
somebody
John's point, you're right about softball, but baseball is not going away. And there's no lighted baseball field anywhere along, that I've been told, along the shoreline.
Okay,
And the individual who brought this to my attention is involved with that level of baseball, but the teens, like the 13, 14, 15-year-olds. He said, excuse the pun, it'll be a hit. Because there's no place for people to play. The high school can play night games. They don't have a lighted
So
field.
through now, because it's TBD, but what kind of cost are we talking about?
I don't know, so I don't have
And I
any.
think of Truth, I'm sorry, but I just keep thinking of the high school
I
and the
know,
issues that we
Truth.
had with that. So I'm a big, like, I haven't.
I
noticed
would
with
look at
that.
it as another option too, as a comparison, and this is also gonna be reflected upon the neighborhood up at the Guilford High School. It would almost be less expensive to light baseball, varsity baseball field, which is a very, very good baseball field. When they built it perfectly. Installing lights there, they can be properly shielded so they don't go into New England Road or go over, what is that, the farms? Long Hill Farms. So I think it's possible that the lighting can be angled to the point where you would have a very good baseball experience for probably a fraction of the cost of putting in artificial turf.
Fraction of cost, but a fraction of use too, because it would only be baseball. This could be softball,
Yeah,
little
that's
league,
true.
all levels could play here. So it'd be multi-use versus one team use. So again, I only put it on because it was suggested that I add it.
consider it.
So it's up to you.
You know, no harm, no
That'll
foul.
be
At this
discussion,
point,
that's
we're
right.
2027, 2028, we've got time.
I'm sorry, am I?
Is there another place that uses such a field?
If you would go over to the surf club over in Madison, their softball field is a multi-purpose softball field with the soccer and football combined. That was a restricted grant that was given to the town of Madison by the people who donated the money to the town to erect it originally as a grass. Then the town decided to put turf out the entire field because of the amount of use that.
And how has that worked out?
It's worked out fine. The problem, I mean, there is competition for that field.
Well, I'm talking about it in terms of what Diane has been
Maintenance.
saying about the maintenance. We've run into a lot of problems with our turf fields. at the
they
high
have
school.
not had anything resembling problems that we have had. And they have two turf fields, because they have one at the high school, and then the surf club is pretty much the gold standard for along the shoreline with regard to youth football on Sundays. They have 2 games there. Lacrosse plays all of their home games at the surf club. Soccer, for boys and girls varsity, they play all their games at the surf club. And generally, they try to, during the early part of the season for soccer in September, they try to have their games from like 4 o'clock to later to let the ground release the heat, so that the players aren't feeling the effect of
The summer sun.
All right, well, that's something to think about, so.
Well, do you want me to, pursue and just get prices on it?
Take up the price,
It's gonna be about the prices.
yeah, get the price for now, let's see. I mean, this is 2027, I mean, we've
Yeah,
got
well, I,
time
Be here
to,
in a blink of an eye. Are you
I was
kidding?
gonna say. I mean, we have time to
2020
revise, we have time to revise this as the years go. on.
Fourplex up in North Branford used to have entire dirt infields, like Bittner Park. And they made the decision to go to an artificial surface for the infields and leave the outfields as grass. So if you can find somebody up there who you can chat with, that made the initial change about maybe 5-6 years ago. They put it in.
Okay, let's go on to equipment.
So let's see.
No senior buses on here.
I think the only one I'll mention here really is the smallest one, the pallet racks. So what that is at the garage that the town bought for us at 50's right across the street from where our main garage is. We're storing a lot of stuff there, but we're running out of space there. And a pallet rack, it's basically like shelves. You can put pallets of fertilizer on or paint buckets or whatever we have. It just gets them up off the ground.
Yep.
And leaves the ground for equipment. It just adds storage space. Very inexpensive, 6,000. So I think it's the lowest expense we have for any request. The top dresser, the one we have now, I think we got that in 1997 probably, so it's old. In fact, I gotta make sure we had it here with what we're replacing. I usually do that.
Rick, what is a top dresser?
So that's what we use for, when we top dress a field, we put sand down or topsoil. It's a machine that we can adjust it anywhere from 1/2 inch to 3 inches. We have to add material to the field. So a lot of times we'll aerate a field, poke holes in it, and then drop sand down into those holes, so it helps with drainage. The top dresser, it's got a conveyor belt and it drops down and it spreads out the sand or loam, whatever we have in it. It makes a nice even, whatever it is, level 1/2 inch to up to 3 inches.
So if you do need to get a new one, what happens to the old one? Does that get traded in and you get money for it? Or,
Eventually the town auctions it off, or if they're not
okay,
sellable, they throw them out, but they go to an auction.
okay.
Sand Pro machine, we've the first one I bought, I think it was one of the first piece of equipment I bought for the guys when I came here, probably in 1992. One of those is a 93 or 94, that one probably is it. It's old, it's 30 years old. And then, let's see. I think that nothing else really new there, it's replacing trucks. On the flatbed, that's just replacing the body. The truck engine is still good, but it's just a new, the body's rotted out. So, sand, the salt, the winter and everything, they rot out over time. So that's just a new body for it. 25, 26, pick up the replacing zero turn motor that, the one, again, we gotta put the date on here, but that's replacing one. It's about 12 years old now, I think. The trailer is replacing what's 20 years old. The airless field painter, that's a battery operated painter, it's replacing one that, again, an old battery painter we have. And there's the phrase mower. Tony thought, well, if we're spending $10,000 or $15,000
Yeah, might as well
to
buy
have somebody do it, let's buy one.
Yeah.
And we would have paid for it and we can use it at every field we want to.
We can rent it out.
That's fine.
There's some, I got some editing, I just got this at 4:30 today, so I got
Alright.
just some editing I have to do with some of this. 26, 27. He's been thinking for a little while about replacing our 16-foot big mowers with an 11-foot mower. So the first thought is, well, yeah, but we can mow less with that.
Yeah.
But we have to drive those over the road, and every vendor, when we buy these, they shouldn't be driving these on the road, because the wings, they bounce up and down, it's not good for the wings, but they're so big, we can't trailer them. So Tony's thinking, why don't we, let's get a smaller one
I
and
see.
trailer it, then the mower will last longer.
Yep.
So
Good idea.
long term, it's probably a smart way to go. I think Madison did that, they went with some smaller ones. The 5-foot difference, it's not making a huge difference, think about it, cutting a green. Does it add 15 minutes maybe? It's not gonna add a
Barely,
lot
yeah.
to go with a smaller mower,
Right.
a lot of extra time.
Which field do we have takes the longest? Would that be Leet, would it be Bittner?
Well, if you think of facilities, high school might be, because you got the sod field, then you gotta drive all the way around, then you got to Maturo, then you gotta go around the school to do the lower softball fields there, and then the baseball field. Acre wise, maybe it's the high school. Cox not so bad, it's just the 3 fields there. Bidder, 3 little league fields, softball field, soccer field, yeah, that takes a while. I'd say it'd be Bidder and the high school, are probably the 2 biggest mowing projects.
Well, what I'm thinking is that I would still go for the purchase of the smaller rotor, but if we could put the larger machine and house it, say like where the Board of Education has their trucks and everything, and just dedicate that to a high school, you wouldn't have to have it on the road like
They don't
and
mean.
I've seen our thing on the road. It really does.
It does.
It looks,
All about traffic too.
it holds up, and people get impatient on 77.
They don't make a trailer for a 16-inch,
It's too wide.
I mean, a 16 inch, so they don't make a trailer for a 16-foot, what we have, is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's a big trade. Yeah.
Then
Then
what
you
would
need
the
a big
cost of
truck.
that be?
Right.
Versus, I mean, I'm always about cost, so it's what's the difference of how much would a 16-foot tilt trailer cost? Versus us spending that kind of money to go down to an 11-foot, I guess is what my question is.
Well, the bigger question is the 16-foot mower, how old is it? Does it needs to be replaced?
Yeah, oh yeah, we're only having it because it's easy. to
So it's
replace,
not
right?
like
Yeah,
we're
I
going to
gotta get the
keep,
age
it's
of it.
not like, we have to replace it.
We have to replace it anyway. Tony wants to replace it with a smaller one and then trailer it. So, again, it's been a recommendation of our public works mechanics and the companies we buy these from is that it's not, they don't recommend you drive it on the road, we don't have any choice. And think about it, they're driving all the way up to the high school.
But to Diane's question, I would think
Leet,
that the 11 foot
Leet,
is
does.
cheaper than the 16-foot.
Melissa
No,
Jones.
no, it's the school system. does that.
And then you add.
Yeah, but then you're adding in the $95,000 to replace them, I mean, that's.
But we have to do that anyway. That's what
This
the
is
thing
it,
is, the
yeah.
16-foot
Okay.
mower
Okay.
needs to be replaced, so we have to replace it one way or another. So it's probably more cost effective to replace it with the 11-foot than to buy
Yeah.
another 16-foot, even with the trailer, even with the trailer, right?
Tony's pretty sold on the idea of going with a smaller size mower. And again, he's talked to the guys at Madison, they're very happy with the small ones.
We need to trust Tony's judgment. 'cause
We
he's done a
do,
good job.
absolutely.
I trust his judgment. I think that's best, I think.
We have 2, so we're still gonna have a big one too, until we replace
Until
that.
we replace
So
it,
we have 2 16-footers.
Again, like, I'm not going against what,
No, I understand.
I sit here trying to also appreciate the taxpayer in this town, that I'm just big on cost of things. And so I'm just always just trying to be that side of it to say, what's another way of more cost effective? So, I don't disagree with what they
No, I
do
we
and what
understand.
they know. I mean, they have the
John's
experience.
point, though, You already have a 16, 216.
To keep one
So-
of them
So
where
like the high
Keep-
school,
keep
yeah.
one where you,
it needs to be until it doesn't work anymore. I
Well,
mean,
that's pretty much what we do.
yeah,
We pretty
okay.
much run them to the ground.
Yeah.
But then if it dies, now we got one and we need to.
no, I just
Right.
meant don't trailer, don't drive it on the roads.
Can you find a place to house it, like at the high school?
No, I mean, that's a point, but they still gotta drive it down to get gas. They have to bring it down to the garage area to gas it up anyway. And they have to gas it every day. So no
details.
matter what, they have to
Yeah, okay.
get it down to where the gas pumps are. So.
Although General Pat did take his tranks to it.
Okay, anything else here on?
Gas to him.
I don't know. And we did the 1700s.
That's right.
Yeah. Get the cows back.
They survived. We'll be fine.
The Procore aerator, you can see the one we have now it's
1990, yeah. About time.
It's 33 years old, but it's gonna be like 35 years old by then. And it's old, I mean, it actually has concrete blocks on it to weight it down to make it take over.
That was on the green today.
What's
The
that?
generator was on the green today.
They were aerated, yeah, they were.
They were
seeding.
aerating, so yeah, I watched that.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, then 2728, replacing a 2014 zero-turn mower. The leaf vacuum, again, it's gonna be 20.
Yeah.
Well, I will say, you guys definitely use the equipment until it's, you really do. I mean, that's impressive.
We do.
Yeah, and for the amount of use it gets too, that's impressive.
Our stuff is always old before we
Yeah.
replace.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then, they see replacing the John Deere and the flatbed truck at that.
So Rick, wait, before we leave equipment here. So are we now never going to have to replace a senior's bus or van or anything, or is that someplace else in the budget? I mean, more and more rides are happening, more and more people are riding.
Yeah, I feel like, well, the van, we just got to bring the van last year, so we're good for 5 years at least.
Okay.
We're getting 2 buses this year.
Okay, so we should be okay for a while.
We're supposed to get it this month. We have another one we should be getting by next summer. So.
Oh, we're already ready.
It was from the last time we had this
Change the
discussion.
buses.
Okay, so we should be okay for a while. Okay.
Check, I look at my original notes and make sure Jen didn't miss something.
I know.
Bus fund, I'll double check.
We just double check, because I know we do go buses.
We need drivers.
Yeah, I know, we need drivers. If anybody would like to drive a bus, let us know. Drive the van.
I'll retire driver, you guys.
Here at the community center, well, we talked about the ceiling
Ceiling
tiles.
tiles, yep.
Yeah, HVAC, the AHU, or air handler units, their insulation that is where it's actually breaking off and it gets sucked through the system. So we gotta replace the insulation in there.
Yeah.
And then cleaning the ducts out, that's kind of part of that. And that's about 60,000 for both those projects. This preschool room floor, the vinyl tile, I think is original in there. It's
Mhm.
gonna be 32 years old by the time we do it. So replacing that, it's a small amount, 10,000, in the carpet that's in there. The windows on the first floor, Rose, you were asking earlier,
Yeah.
when the
We never did
window
those.
project, it was upstairs, it didn't do anything
We never did the
downstairs.
downstairs, yeah, so it's
If
time.
you go in that corridor there in the winter, you can feel the
It's
cold
cold.
coming through it.
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
It is cold.
That's what I ask again, is it's time.
Yes.
But like, that's just kind of where I go. Is it necessary? Is it gonna save us money in the long run? Is it gonna, I mean, I live in a 1963 Cape. I still have original windows because of that cost. So that's just where my brain always goes, is to, just because it's 10 years or 20 years, doesn't mean things have to be replaced.
But eventually you can
But-
save on the heat because you lose a lot of heat. to the
I
windows.
know.
It is cold.
I think the amount of heat that we spend.
I know, I
because
see that,
payment
but
is
it's,
in
I mean, it's, yeah, it's significant, it's. You know, that money was spent, so it's crazy, yeah.
And that was part of, when they were doing a lot of energy upgrades a
Yes.
few years ago, they said we need to replace
We need to
windows. and-
replace the
and
windows.
The money was given to the town, only covered up here at that time.
Are there grants still being provided by
Yeah,
Eversource?
yeah, look into that. There might be still there was some energy efficiency grants, that money still in the town's budget, so we have to have, you know, finance department say, we have money to help cover that.
Right.
Well, okay, so let's take this as another step. Do we have the infrastructure that we could put solar panels on the roof of this building to help supplement?
We looked at that, we talked about that, but I thought somebody said we couldn't because it's in the historic district. I don't know if you know, Kathy, about that.
No, the historic district would use solar panels.
Oh, they did? huh?
Yeah, that's right. There are solar panels on First Commons.
Yeah, I mean, we should look into that. It's a good point.
Solar panels all over.
Okay.
Cause
And I
we
also
just
think-
replaced the roof, what,
Maybe I'll on
2 years
Yeah,
ago?
roofs are
Yeah, we
good.
just
So
replaced the roof.
Would not be,
Would have to worry about ripping it out, to put back in again with the solar panels.
We need to look, I mean, that's a whole new project to look at how much we save, how much we have to spend. I know we're doing it up at church and it's a project, so.
What is?
That's something for
And
Diane.
it's something we should
Get something to come back even if we discussed it, because
Need to
it
look at-
changes, people's ideas about it change and also.
Exactly.
The equipment
Diane should
changes.
set up a subcommittee for that.
Yeah, definitely.
Solar committee.
She's the solar lady.
Solar, great.
Yes, my
It's good,
husband
though.
taught me well about just being, he runs things to the ground until they're, and I guess maybe it's just rubbing off on me a little bit. He'll be shocked to hear me say that, but
so 26,
It's recorded
27,
now. Takes the 26, 27.
ceramic tile floor, I mean, it's never been done, you know, you have to regrout those periodically, but again, it's a small number.
Yep.
Ceiling tiles in the lead room and kitchen, you know, you'll see, we're gradually trying to replace ceiling tiles all over the building, because sorry, Diane, but they're old. In
They
some
are old.
cases, They're looking bad and you
No,
can't clean them.
I know, they can't be painted, they can't be,
In the kitchen, they're
It's
real,
aesthetically,
you think of
it's
all the
different thing
grease
than
in
Oh, well,
the
the
kitchen.
grease in
I
the
mean,
kitchen, yeah.
You go like that, it's like, man, you got much.
so that's where I'm going, with it. I understand.
So it's kind of, the theme that year is pretty, pretty much the floor and ceiling, floor in the kitchen and, ceiling tiles.
Right.
And then Faulkner room the next year and the main septic line, we pushed that back, we had it in for next year.
I think we pushed that
We
back.
pushed back, so we've been doing okay.
Yeah.
Knock
we're
on
gonna
wood,
do it
please.
when we
Why not?
replaced the sidewalks, which was gonna be in the budget this year, but we didn't have to replace the sidewalk. We found a company that was able to pump them up.
Yeah.
And that was gonna be like $70,000, replace them, cost 10,000 to do what we did. We saved money, Diane, see?
You do, Rick.
We found it.
You do,
I mean,
I do, I appreciate that too, I do.
So it hasn't been an issue. We've been staying on top of it, and I think we've been okay, so we thought we could push that back. a little bit.
Okay, good.
And then Todd mentioned if you can't see it probably tonight when you go out, but that whole front, the curbing on the front of the,
The stairs.
what you call the porch,
Yeah.
it's cracking, it's falling apart.
Yeah.
And we really need to replace that and reseal it. Can we get it by another 3 or 4 years? Yeah, we probably can.
You think we can?
It's,
I mean,
it's
we don't want
more
people
aesthetic
tripping
than
on it.
anything right now. It's not gonna fall apart, but, you know, we can move it up if you want, but we.
But is it anything that somebody can trip on?
No.
Okay,
No,
yeah, I don't
as
think
everybody
so.
walks is more aesthetic than anything.
Oh, yes, that's fine.
That's it,
Okay.
unless, somebody else is gonna go ahead.
So we need a motion to approve? Well, I mean, if we need to approve that, this is the.
Well, at
this is
least
the,
We need to move forward.
This is the capital budget that we approved that will be sent to the select.
We've
So we do-
endorsed it.
Yeah.
We've endorsed it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so we do need to make a motion
To make the motion to endorse the capital budget.
I'll second.
any more discussion on this? Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, any other new business? Speak now.
Why are you looking at me?
Did you walk
I always have something to say. But you know what? I didn't write my memo this month, so it's been so
Memo?
busy. So busy. No, I have nothing.
I have more to say than usual, so my
No,
apologies.
no more new business?
No.
All right, motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor?
Bye.
Aye.
Thank you.